Hi there, folks. Well, I don't know if you've ever come across this poem. It's by Rudyard Kipling. It's titled If. It's a beautiful poem, well worth reading if you haven't. I do tend to read it once in a while to remind me. And it begins with this wonderful sentence, which I'd like to just read out. And it's, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs. And it does continue. But that one sentence inspired me to maybe talk around this a little bit, especially in the context of the environment we are living in at a global level, at people's respective country levels, and in our personal lives, because they're all interconnected from one level to another. But this environment, this volatility, this uncertainty, this complexity, and this ambiguity, this VUCA environment, is really taking its toll on people's psyches, I feel. I know it definitely affects me too. And it requires, this is where the work really is required, is to learn the art of not becoming reactive, to become more non-reactive. And I'm not saying to not address things, but there's a fine line between a knee-jerk reaction to everything out there, or the alternative, which is to actually sit back, not react, and then make a choice of whether you need to address something or not. And what can happen, we've got this ancient system within us where we literally do lose our heads, we lose our minds. And that is part of our deep subconscious. There's this amygdala, which sits in both hemispheres of our brain and the limbic system. And its job is to assess threats. Now, I'm really talking at a layman's level on this, but this amygdala perceives uncertainty and volatility and complexity, all these things that are happening to us as threats. And without awareness, what can happen is this amygdala, Daniel Goleman talks about the amygdala hijack. And beyond thinking, we talk about when the lizard hijacks the wizard, the reptilian hijacks the higher brain. But what happens is it prevents information, the amygdala, it prevents information from flowing into our left prefrontal cortex, which is the rational, reasonable brain where we can think things through. And what it does is it goes straight into fight, flight, freeze. And there's very limited choices in the fight, flight, freeze area of life. I mean, when we react and we get angry and we lash out with violence in its extreme forms, most of the time afterwards we kind of go, oh my soul, what did I do? And what did it achieve? And it doesn't necessarily achieve much. What it does is it magnifies even more so the volatility and the uncertainty. And I've experienced this in my life where I've reacted and afterwards I've gone, oh, Colin, what were you thinking? And I feel it's even more important now, especially the given environment, to be mindful of not being reactive. You see, when we react, there's possibly this deep subconscious urge to want to feel like we're in control. And because we're not in control, what we're doing is we are discharging this pain, and we might be putting this pain onto other people who are experiencing their pain and their uncertainty. And what happens is, as I say, this spiral downwards, and it makes an already possibly difficult life even more so difficult. So for me, non-reactivity is about improving one's quality of life with what is. And here's a simple tool. Try this. Pay attention to your breathing, and as you do so, and you just simply let your thoughts go. So you go to your breathing, pay attention to the texture, but as you do this, do your best to get angry. Do your best to try and become reactive. And you'll find it's very difficult. And why is that? Well, within our minds, we have these continual thoughts ruminating, going over and over again, saying what if, and extrapolating the future, and building in all these assumptions and stories that may not necessarily be true. And this is activating and putting this amygdala on edge. But when we go to our breathing, we're not paying attention to this, and we're actually in a more calmer state of mind. So it is, for me, non-reactiveness is about being very aware of my thinking, my quality of thinking, what are the stories I'm telling myself, and to do my best to let go of that, and to do my best to not be reactive. And I go into this meditative state with breathing, and I find afterwards, most of the time, I don't actually have to react to anything. There are areas that maybe I can respond to and address, but for me, the most powerful thing that I can take charge of is my response to what's happening in the environment. And simple breathing exercises are a great way to do it, but there's also self-reflective exercises which keep the prefrontal cortex open, keeps this rational part of the brain open. And self-reflective exercises where we give that minimal chance before we want to react, and we ask ourselves, what am I feeling right now? How do I want to react? How is this going to make things better? Is it going to make things better? Has it made things better in the past when I've reacted like this? And most of the time, we'll remind ourselves that it hasn't really helped us to react. It doesn't help us to go into a flying rage in traffic and have road rage. It doesn't help us to lash out at people we love around us. It doesn't help us to lash out at people we work with. We've all got our burdens to bear, and I think this is where a bit of compassion comes in for ourselves, where we just step back and we do nothing. We become non-reactive. We become the observer. And as we do this, we do improve our quality of life with what is. And maybe things do start to shift, and we realize that actually, as much as the environment impacts on us, we can actually either make that environment immediately around us more pleasant or more volatile, more uncertain. But that is up to us to decide. So those are just some thoughts, folks. And until we chat again, take care and stay aware.